Hello, my name is Kara and I come from the state of Florida. I pulled a consent form from Maryland and I was comparing and contrasting with the congruency of what they had in Maryland versus what they had in Florida and what was required. There are a few things from the APA standards that are missing from this consent form, one of which is the counselor qualifications and credentials and relevant experiences. They were not even there. I found it interesting that they only mentioned that they were therapists or clinicians, but it never said that they were trained therapists or that they were had any credentials of any kind. And then another thing that they were very vague on was the implication of diagnosis. It never said what would happen if a client was diagnosed with a condition. They also did not add about the continuation of service upon the incapability of a counselor being able to continue services. So these three major things were missing. I did find that the Florida and Maryland were pretty congruent. They requested pretty much the same things. I didn't see any thing that stood out to me that was different. One of the things that I did learn is that through my research, I found a paper by Hunt, 2007, that did a research on Spanish-speaking clients and the interpretation that they do with the intended and consent form. So what happened was they would call a counselor, or the counselor and client would be together, and then they would call an interpreter into the room, and the interpreter would proceed to interpret what the counselor was saying. And in this research paper, it found that the scores were notably lower for consultations that occurred across the language barrier. And so when having a client sign a consent form, I feel that it's important that they're able to read and understand the meaning in their native tongue. I live in South Florida where there's a large population of Spanish-speaking, Creole-speaking are the two main languages. And I feel that the clients will be not as informed if they don't have this in their native tongue and it's explained well, because there are several technical terms and things that need to be explained. One of the other things is that I found that in these consent forms is they're very, very lengthy. Some of them, this particular one, Hopeful Counseling, went into a lot of detail that I feel like was unnecessary. Maybe it's just because they want to get their point across. It was basically about media and how not to communicate through media with over text and with social media, like let's say a messenger doing a messenger message in your inbox, doing that and giving confidential information. So I can see where in an age like this, but they went into a great amount of detail in explaining all the media limitations and confidentiality. It was very interesting to see that from my perspective, how they left out certain aspects of the APA regulations and requirements, and how they were not, they were very wordy on other parts of their form. It was over 3.5 pages long, and it went into great detail about confidentiality and about how the behavior and attitude of a client could be altered and how that could affect the relationship of the client with other people. So I thought that that was an interesting aspect of it. Thank you for listening.